Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Radford. I'm an English solicitor and Spanish lawyer with my law in Spain. And today I'm joined with my colleagues, Isabel. Isabel, where are you?
I'm here.
Hello, Isabel, and Patricia.
Hello.
Hello, Patricia.
Hello, hi there. Hello.
Today we're talking about powers of attorney. So what's a power of attorney? Basically, a power of attorney is a document that someone signs before a notary or a consular official, giving powers to someone to act on their behalf. Those powers could be to litigate, to buy a property, to sell a property, or to inherit a property. And it's very important when you give a power of attorney that you are fully aware of the powers that you are giving to that person. If you're not happy, or if you believe that those powers could be excessive, then you can curtail them and reduce them. And if you wanted to change the power of attorney, the only thing you can do is actually to revoke it, which means you'd have to go back to the notary or to the consul, and you cancel that power of attorney, and that notary or the consul would then contact the person who you gave the powers of attorney to. Before you give powers of attorney to someone, it's very important that you trust that person, that they're professional, and you understand fully, and they understand fully, what work they're going to carry out on your behalf. Okay? Because powers of attorney can be open to abuse if given to the wrong person. So, Patricia, can I sign the power of attorney with my solicitor?
Thank you for the question. You can make a POA in your own country, but it is very important that you visit a notary public. The power of attorney can be signed and used in another country as long as it complies, if we're going to use it here in Spain, with Spanish regulations for a valid power of attorney, and also that it is legalized. So therefore, if you want to sign the power of attorney in your home country abroad, it is very, very important that you ensure you are signing the power of attorney with a notary public, not a solicitor. Otherwise, it is not going to be valid in Spain.
Yeah, so it's a good point. So, for example, I'm an English solicitor and also a Spanish lawyer, as you and Isabella are Spanish lawyers as well, but you're not notaries. So a power of attorney cannot be signed before us. It has to be signed before a notary or a consular official. So, Isabel, we've had a question in. I've got a power of attorney which was signed by my mother in the United Kingdom, authorizing me to sell her property in Spain. But since then, my mother has sadly become ill. Can that person still use the power of attorney?
Well, there are two questions there. This, on the one hand, the formal requirements that Patricia was talking about. So the fact that the power of attorney has to comply with the formal requirements. So the power of attorney would need to fit with the format that we use as acceptable here. And the other question is the mental capacity. So if there is no mental capacity, if the mental capacity has been lost because the person has become mentally ill, in that case, the power of attorney would not be acceptable here, unless the power of attorney itself includes a provision to cover that kind of situation. Normally, under Spanish law, there would be need to have incapacity process being achieved, being completed, and then, well, the court would appoint the legal representative. So it needs to be carefully checked if there is this situation, because this power of attorney may not be acceptable in Spain.
Yeah, so it's a good time to mention actually that people grant us powers of attorney to buy properties and to sell properties, and if they, for example, a married couple moving to Spain, and they're concerned that further down the line, as they grow older, they might suffer from a degenerative disease, that they could actually sign a power of attorney to each other to manage each other's affairs. And that power of attorney in the UK and other countries in the world is known as an enduring power of attorney, and here it's known as a preventative power of attorney. So those powers of attorney do exist, and they're very useful. We would encourage our clients to sign those at the same time as they sign a Spanish will. So Patricia, we talked about the requirements, but what are the actual formal requirements to have a power of attorney signed abroad so that it's valid in Spain?
Well, a power of attorney can be signed in another country, as we have said, as long as it complies with the Spanish regulation for a power of attorney, and also that the power of attorney is legalized. So we suggest, and it's quite important, that the power of attorney document is drafted by a lawyer. If you use an English-speaking lawyer, also they can draft the power of attorney in double column in English and Spanish, so that the person that is going to sign the power of attorney know exactly what faculties are signing over to the lawyers. And also it is going to save some money, as it will not be necessary as word translation of the power of attorney into Spanish. It is very important that the document includes complete names as it appears in the passport, the profession, the marital status, and the address. In the power of attorney, the notary is going to certify that the donor has mental capacity and understand the document to sign. So as we said before, the document, the POA, the power of attorney, has to be signed by the person who grants the power of attorney and a notary public. And the notary will identify the person that is signing and make sure that the person who is signing understands the content of the power of attorney. So sorry.
So I was going to say, it's just so important. We can't emphasize enough that it's very important that whoever signs the power of attorney, they read through it before. If it's in another language, that it's explained to them so they're fully aware of the extent of the power of attorney before it's signed.
So we also ask the persons who sign the power of attorney to include a photocopy of the client's passport to the will, to the power of attorney. So it is recorded that the notary has witnesses the document, the passport, and it is included in the power of attorney in one document. After that, it's the legalization process, which involves sending the power of attorney to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, requesting the apostille of The Hague to be attached to the notarized power of attorney. With the apostille of The Hague, it is a certificate that allows the power of attorney, the document, to be recognized in Spain, and so it will work here immediately. That is very, very important, because without the apostille of The Hague, the power of attorney will not be valid in Spain. And as you have said, Alex, it's also possible to grant the power of attorney in the Spanish embassy or consulate, although it takes a lot of time to get an appointment. So we prefer to do it this way. Ensure that the power of attorney is drafted accordingly and signed according to Spanish regulation.
Yeah. So it's quite important to bear in mind as well that depending on where you're signing the power of attorney in the world, the requirements may differ slightly, but generally speaking, we prepare the power of attorney in English and Spanish. We send them through to you to review. Once you've read them and happy with them, then they can be signed before a notary in your home country, or they can be signed before a consular official. And then the legalization kind of varies if the country in which you're signing the power of attorney has signed up to the Hague Convention or not. So Isabel, we've had another question through. Someone's an executor in charge of dealing with a Spanish estate or a Spanish inheritance. can I sign a power of attorney to authorize the Spanish lawyer to sign the paperwork to complete the inheritance there, or has the or does the power of attorney have to be signed by the beneficiary?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it sometimes we find that in the probate cases there is the executor who gets involved, and of course the beneficiaries. Well, the executor can grant a power of attorney to authorize the Spanish lawyer to handle the distribution of the estate, and in fact this is very useful when the deceased instructed on the will the sale of the Spanish property and the payment of any money obtained to the beneficiaries, because in that case, it is the executor, in fact, the only one who could authorize the lawyer in Spain to complete the formalities to achieve the sale. And that's why it would be necessary in that case that the executor signs the power of attorney in any case. The beneficiaries, of course, will have to grant a power of attorney as well in order to authorize the lawyer to accept the inheritance on their behalf if they are not in Spain. So their power of attorney will be always requested in order to complete the probate in Spain. So the answer would be really, yeah, the executor can grant a power of attorney. In fact, it is sometimes necessary, and the beneficiaries will, of course, have to sign one to complete the process here.
Okay, yeah, and then fair to say as well, each beneficiary and executor will also require an N.I.E. number.
Of course.
So the N.I.E. numbers are Spanish tax numbers, and again, using the power of attorney, we can apply for those N.I.E. numbers for you. So is it? Sorry, Patricia. If I'm concerned about the extent of the power of attorney, what can I do to limit it?
One of the things will be including an expiration date. Although powers of attorney do not normally include an expiration date unless the donor includes it inclusive. This is for practical reasons. Because there are cases where the legal act might take longer than expected. For example, the cases at the court. And if the power of attorney expires before the legal matter is completed, then of course it will be an inconvenience because it will be necessary a new power of attorney. Well, as you have said before, it is important to say that the power of attorney can be revoked anytime by the donor, but also that the power of attorney is revoked by death or loss of mental capacity, either by the donor or the attorney. Well, having said that, it is always the possibility to include an expiration date if the person who is signing really wanted, for example, like 1 year. Or also, it is possible to limit the power of attorney to a certain matter. For example, if you are buying a property, include the exact details of the property that you wish to buy.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and just to clarify, once a power of attorney is signed before a notary in Spain, then it's valid and it can be used straight away. And of course, if the power of attorney is being sent to us from abroad, then we can only start to act on that power of attorney when we receive the original. So, Isabel, we had another question through. My father passed away and left the Spanish property to me and my daughter. She's a minor. We need to sign a power of attorney to authorize the Spanish lawyer to sell the Spanish property. Can my daughter sign it?
Well, the general rule in both in UK, in Spain, in most countries is that the parents do legally represent the children who are minor of age, so they can sign the power of attorney on behalf of their children. However, it's true that under Spanish law, the sale of property which is owned by a minor of age could require the authorization from the court, the previous authorization. So it happens that in the UK, for example, this court authorization is not always requested. So it could be the case that someone, for example, who holds British nationality under UK law could legally grant a power of attorney for the sale of a property on behalf of the child who is a minor, and that should be acceptable here as long as there is an affidavit or a certificate of law provided by a notary in the UK or by a solicitor in the UK confirming that the law, the English law, authorizes this to happen. In any case, because in Spain, the notaries, the public registries are very conscious and very strict sometimes in relation to the power of attorney validity, it is very strongly advisable to check if, for example, there is a property sale, check with the local notary who is going to authorize the sale of the property in Spain to confirm that the power of attorney which has been signed in the UK on behalf of the child is valid, is going to be acceptable, or whether the notary may request this affidavit or even some specific confirmation or additional detail, because it may be the case that if the notary has a very strict criteria, there could be some difficulties to complete the sale here. So it's very important to check that in advance and coordinate with the Spanish notary and with the notary in the UK if there is need to provide with an affidavit.
Okay. So simple question, Patricia. Can I sign the power of attorney during my visit to Spain?
Yes, yes, of course. If you are in Spain, we can find your nearest notary here, and we can arrange an appointment for you. So the notary, Spanish notary, will need the personal details and also the lawyer's personal details, full name, passport or ID number, the address, the marital status and professions. And it is really, really important that when you attend the notary, you bring your passport with you. In this case, the document, it is likely that it's going to be written in Spanish only. So if you are not fluent in Spanish, you will need someone to go to a notary and translate the power of attorney for you. And so it will be very easy. It will take only probably 1 hour of your time. And granting a power of attorney in Spain is usually the fastest and the cheapest option.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's important to bear in mind as well that when you sign a deed, a power of attorney before a notary in Spain, they issue you with the first copy. So they don't actually issue with the version that you've signed. So you won't see your signature on it. It will be the first authorized copy. Whereas, for example, if you sign a power of attorney abroad and you send that to us or to your lawyer in Spain, you'll actually send them the signed version with the stamps of the notary and the apostille of the Hague on it. So there's a slight difference. And we act for clients buying, selling, and inheriting property and assets and doing business all over Spain. And there's notaries, generally speaking, in every single large town. So we can arrange for powers of attorney to be signed at quite short notice. So another question we've had through Isabel. Someone says, I'm based in Cyprus and I'm selling my Spanish property. So I signed a power of attorney following my lawyer's advice, but I'm now told it is not valid, even though I met a notary public here. What advice do you have for this person?
Yeah, unfortunately, we get situations like this one. And the truth is that we've been saying that the power of attorney has to be signed in the presence of a notary public, but it's true that in some countries, the notaries do only witness the signatures. So they do not check the grantor's capacity and they do not check the content of the document. So it happens that in Cyprus, there are two types of notary service. One basic service, which is only witnessing the signature, and a comprehensive service, which includes confirming that the content of the document and the capacity of the grantor is acceptable. So if the person is not aware of this and, well, simply meets a notary there and the notary does not make the person, the grantor, aware, it could be the case that the power of attorney which is signed is only for signature witnessing. And so when we get it in Spain, it is not valid. In fact, well, in my experience, in Cyprus, the notaries would even put like a stamp on the document saying that they do not guarantee the content, that they do not guarantee the capacity, the grantor's capacity. So if we get it here, this power of attorney is not going to be acceptable by a notary here, because there is, as we were saying before, there is the formal requirements that are compulsory under our system. So it's very important to ensure that the notary in the country where this power of attorney is being signed does cover all these aspects. So not only witnesses the signature, but also confirms and certifies the capacity and the content of the document being valid.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. Any other comments, Isabel or Patricia, about powers of attorney?
Well, I think that, as we were saying before, it is important that the Spanish lawyer drafts the power of attorney, coordinates the signature, and checks that these requirements are all being met. This is what we usually do when we are in charge of this service. And as I said before, coordinating with the local authorities here where the power of attorney is going to be used to ensure that they do cover, that they do comply with all the necessary requirements and the specific notary's criteria. That's something to do in advance to avoid having some difficulty or problem in the last minute. Yeah,
and generally speaking, just to emphasize what we've talked about earlier, it's very important that before you sign that power of attorney, that you read it carefully, make sure you fully understand it. If you've got any questions about the power of attorney, raise those with your lawyer. Once it's been signed, the only way that you can cancel that power of attorney is by revoking it. So you go back before the notary to revoke that power of attorney. And also you can let your lawyer know that they should no longer use it. Generally speaking, once we've completed a matter for our clients, and we would say return the property deeds to them, we would return the power of attorney to them as well, so that we do not have that in our possession and cannot continue to act on them. But generally speaking, again, most lawyers will only act on your written or emailed instructions when it comes to powers of attorney. But bear in mind, if you don't give it to a lawyer, you give a power of attorney to someone else, then you've got to be very, very clear what that power of attorney is to be used for. Well, that's all from us today. So I'd like to thank you for joining us. I hope you liked our session today about powers of attorney. We've got more sessions on our YouTube channel about Spanish law. Please feel free to look at those, read those, and like them and share them with your friends. Thank you very much.